So I want to understand something, right? Because I can't let a clinical psychologist get the best of me, even if, well, I don't think she's trying to. Um, it's because to figure out the mindset of a group of people, like a demographic, right? She was attacked by, or statistically says, if I go walking through Camden, New Jersey at night, I'm gonna get attacked. Well, that's true, and she was attacked by a black person, so she got well, people saying that, like, okay, well, you deserved it because you were a racist or something like that. On the other token, right, if you're black and you're in an all white neighborhood, you probably can't beat somebody up. You probably get jumped. Like there's been a rash of, like, black people getting jumped by white people or beaten to death, right? The I don't want somebody to co-opt the message and say that it's because they're this or they're that, right? Evil, okay. I think evil means early, to go before, predecessant, right? But if you want to argue that it means ignorance, there's a kind of ignorance that is the most evil or something like that. I understand where you're going, but there's no sinister motivation, right? That you can just say, oh, they did it because they're sinister and evil, and they did it because they hate you know what I mean? Like, I would agree with ignorant at that extent, but I still think evil means predecessant, early, and to go before, like primeval, primordial, primeval man or something like that. If somebody says, okay, I was attacked, and like, I don't want to go to a black neighborhood because, or I don't want to get killed by a black person or something like that, and you say they're racist, they get to turn your energy into ignorance. So I don't want to have my energy turned into ignorance because I push back against, because she's a clinical psychologist or something like that. It means that she gets to turn me into a retard. There's a little bit of both, you know what I mean? Like, she gets to say what she's saying regardless of whether or not I know that you can get jumped by white people, right? Or you can't fight one-on-one with the white person in a white neighborhood because they're all gonna rat pack you and stump you out or something like that. Like, what she had happen to her has nothing to do with, and I'm a male, she's a female, you know what I mean? Like, has nothing to do personally. The information has nothing to mean about you. You're supposed to take her perspective. You might be able to flip it or whatever, but that's not important, because what happened to her still happened to her, right? What happened to Nolan Wells happened to Nolan Wells. What happened to okay, there's no sinister motivation in the universe. It's evidence toward ignorance is evil is ignorance. But you're still a fucking human. Those people are having the human experience, which is like they're, you know, not saying anything that a God would say. They haven't, you know, they're not ever going to. Gods don't think any thoughts that are human. Whether or not you believe in gods or not, or there's one or there's 100 gods, doesn't even matter. They have separated themselves from the physical with objects that they hold in their hands, right? They might have 6 fucking arms. They might rip out their eyeball and stick it on a branch for enlightenment. You can't think like they do. Like, it's incoherent. It's incomprehensible. It's you can't. So, plus the gods can't suffer on behalf of immortality, right? Man is suffer because we're mortal, but we suffer for a return. And Prometheus doesn't count because Prometheus was an angel, right? So if Prometheus gave fire to man and then was punished by being chained to an isle to the volcano Tartarus in the Isle of Patmos, which means torture, Tartarus, torture, right? He was an angel. Okay, gods deteriorate. They're immortal, but they are, the way that they exist or live is not the same way that you can account for a human existing or living, because they kind of live by our kind of inference to them. Like how we inference them gives them a type of life that isn't the same way that a human lives or exists. So if it can't be petty and tit for tat and, oh, this happened to you, well, guess what, this happened to me, like, so you can't say that because it still happened to her. And what happens to black men still happens to black men, regardless of whether or not you can walk around their neighborhood at night because there's a bunch of hooligan or whatever. She might be using her clinical psychology to trip up someone for taking personally the information or the message that she meant to mean about them, because if they do, then they can't carry the perspective. They didn't ever solicit her perspective in the first place. They were never actually looking for it. So she kind of puts you to that test of, like, if you're emotionally attached or bothered by what I'm saying, it's because you're not taking my perspective. And I'm not going to tolerate or suffer fools. We suffer for return. I want my returns for my suffering. I'm not going to let any loose farming reptilian vampires trick me out my position or something. And you could do the same shit. So, you know, it's like, you know, we're not just like, she punched me in the arm, so I'm gonna punch her back, because now you look like you have no self-control. You just look like an asshole. Which could be a type of ignorance, which for them represents like evil. And I can't convince anybody that evil means predecessor, early, or to go before, because that's so arcane and old-timey, and we don't talk like that, and we don't get this. That's a little bit different from the way that, like, I might not even be trying to equivocate the same way that we do in the contemporary sense. Like, I'm trying to go back to the origin to get the definitions, and it's not about your definitions. We don't even want to use your definitions. Like, you're talking past us, you know. Fuck your definitions, and we don't want to use them and stuff. because still has that trauma. You want to alleviate, you want to seek the pains to alleviate the sorrow. That way you're a healer. But you don't just want to heal anybody and everybody, because it's like, some people you can't save, some people you can. So save the ones you can and skip over the ones you can't. And if that's what she's already doing, well, that's you know, she's not here to save me. You want to be in that, you want to get that level, that you understand that she's here to save or help a lot of people, but there's no really need to help me. Not say like, well, you know, like I never attacked a woman, so stop telling shit about black people, because now you're a racist. It's like you're making the assumption that black people means danger, while in a sense of like socioeconomically in certain neighborhoods, you can expect what you can expect. And it goes for me too. Like if I am in a white conservative neighborhood, people are going to look like, we don't know if you're here to try to study and learn about us for a good reason, or if you want to assimilate to destroy our culture. Whereas they might be like, okay, the commies will be like, we're against assimilation outright. Well, I mean, you don't get to be against assimilation outright. Sure, maybe that's a big fish eating a little fish and everything like that, and we know that's wrong. You know, big fish should let little fish, you know, vie for dominion in the way that they want, unless the big fish, it's like a life or death. If I don't catch this little fish and eat him, I'm going to starve, which means I'm going to die. That's what I mean by no sinister motivation. You know, like all of the creatures on this planet probably don't want to be a human, because they would be on the hook for something we subscribe to, which doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Like, what if you don't have to say, I'm not perfect, I'm a work in progress, or there's original sin, and you know, and this and that, and then you can browbeat people into a religion or something like that. You can use the fear of eternal torment and suffering. Even though you're mortal, you can't suffer eternally, even though you're mortal. Like, I can't explain the concept of hell and how we developed it, and how it's not meant for humans, but it's still a bad place if you think about it. Like, you know, each contributor to the concept of hell in itself is not what we think of when we think of hell. Then, so we still think we can go there, but the way you go there is by elucidating those contributing concepts that we kind of invented it, you know. Yeah, it's a bad place to go there, because the overturning and the rolling over and the overturning of municipality by an aristocracy and schism that wants to encapsulate the push of the modality. If they didn't reach gratification across the board, they're in schism. They have to destroy municipality in order to create a new modality to try to encapsulate that, while they leave their adversaries in the aristocracy out of it. But it was never about us. While we're playing into it and everything, it doesn't have to be like that, because it's not serve our interest. It doesn't, like, they'll get us to worry about a bunch of shit that doesn't affect our lives in order to co-sign on something that they want to do, and they never worked for us before. They always work for them like they're supposed to. They're not even doing anything wrong, because to be materialistic was like how they would survive. So usury went in and out of, like, it was like legal, not legal, like regulated, okay, you can have usury, or like there was things that they had no choice to do to survive in materialism. But that's not talking about us. So we could still watch them catch it in the neck or fall in their face, and it'll be funny to us. But they can't afford that, so they have to do what they have to do, which means they have to try to steal the return for our suffering. They have to, like, encapsulate. So that's why the aristocracy gravitates towards celebrity, because it's like celebrity is like a star power. They have to harness it. They're always trying to use them. They're too ugly to be Hollywood, so they, they kind of get in where they fit in, and they do what they have to do to survive, and they're not wrong. And we're not wrong by letting them fall in their face and laughing at it, because it's funny. So, yeah, she can say that all this stuff about black people, and I can't criticize her because I'll be downplaying her experience, which actually happened. But we can also say the same thing about white people, but in that venue, it's not taking her perspective. So she'll turn my energy into this type of adversary. Isn't the devil or Satan considered to be the adversary in the purest form or sense? Even though, like, okay, the devil is just a crossroads demon mixed with a notary public, a little bit of a Satyricon, a little bit of a crossroads demon, a little bit of notary public hodgepodge invented. The greatest trick the greatest trick Satan ever pulled was convincing man that he didn't exist. But in science, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, it doesn't have to congregate. So the question about whether or not Satan loves his congregation, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to congregate, because there's no... we don't have an example of that other than carbon. Carbon is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. And carbon is a lot of different things. It's just like, sugar. Practically everything is made of sugar. Even if it's not sweet, and we don't think of things that are like cardboard and shit is not sweet. All rocks are made of silica. But it's something like that. Like there's so many different types of freaking rocks. How could they all be made of silica? Is silica even hard? I thought that was those little balls that were inside of, like, packets that keep food fresh or something like that. Yeah, that too. Isn't everything a fucking starch? No. Starch is a sugar.